My son died last week on a ventilator without any family in his hospital room. And the only comfort I had on that horrible day didn't come from the politicians. It didn't come from the nurses or the doctors. It didn't even come from my own family. The greatest comfort that day came from saying goodbye to my son on Zoom, my favorite video conferencing technology. For only $200 a year, there's no time limit on meetings of 3 or more, so you can say goodbye forever. And for no extra charge, the nurse was able to record our son's final moments so we can share them with the whole family to watch again and again. And in a weird way, I'm grateful, because if my son had never gotten sick, I would have never had a chance to discover all the incredible features that Zoom has to offer. High resolution, easy to download, and stored in the cloud.
So let's say I have
Şimdi size bir hikaye anlatacağım. Türkçe bir hikaye bu. Mesela Nasrettin Hoca'dan bahsedelim. Hani şöyle şeye ters binen Nasrettin Hoca vardı ya. Onunla ilgili bir hikaye anlatacağım. Ki benim evim demiş, küçük demiş, benim alanım demiş, dar demiş, vay Nasrettin Hocam demiş, ben bu işi nasıl yapayım? Sonra almış evine götürmüş. Bunu demiş salonun ortasına belki de inek de onu da bilmiyorum ama eşek miydi, inek miydi öyle bir şeydi işte. Onunla oturmuş bir ay sen bununla otur salonda. Ne yapmış işte ondan sonra demiş ki bir ay sonra demiş sen demiş bu eşeği demiş çek buradan demiş dışarıya al. Sonra ne yapsın? Orada bayağı bir genişlemiş alanı demiş ki vay demiş Nasrettin Hocam demiş benim nereye kadar da geniş bir şimdi o zaman bazı elementler falan falan filan diye bir şeyler var işte artık. Yani ondan sonra.
David Roussève here. I'm a choreographer and I make dance theater. I worked with Yoshiko in the 80s. One of the things that Yoshiko told me about today was we just want to know what you're thinking and like where you are with the current situation. And I really relished that because it was a moment for me to self-reflect on what I'm thinking about right now. And with this trifecta of the assault on democracy that happened 3 years ago, and then COVID-19 transformed health and the world and literally how we live our lives, and then yet another African-American man, George Floyd, was slaughtered when someone sat on his neck for 9 minutes, and which then led to the largest civil disobedience and civil rights movement perhaps in American history. But what I'm starting to think about is, as an artist, how do I respond to that? What can I do? Because I want to help move things forward. So that's what I've been thinking about, like, what is my role here? What can I do? Right away from the very beginning with COVID, I was aware of the parallels with the that in New York in the late 80s, early 90s, ACT UP, the AIDS Coalition to Unleash Power, which was a really proactive civil disobedience group that was trying to bring focus and attention. In fact, we had a president who couldn't say the words AIDS or HIV. And what it brought back to me was that it was during the AIDS crisis and my work with ACT UP that I discovered my purpose as an artist. I believe it was 1989-ish. ACT UP took over Grand Central Station at rush hour, and the commuters couldn't get home. So there were just thousands and thousands of protesters there spilling out into the street. The police were trying to monitor and help keep things from getting violent. And I looked down, and there was this guy who was a suburban guy trying to get to his train, to get home to his family. I totally get it, but frankly, we were trying to stop him from getting to the train. And that was the point, was how do you force attention when you can't get attention? And he was shouting with a protester, and it really almost came to blows, like violent blows, and the police separated them. And I thought about that guy's anger, and I thought, wow, I don't blame him for being pissed. I'd be pissed. But if he only understood on the deepest level possible that this is a question of loss and death and that we're here because of grief and because people are dying unnecessarily. And I thought, I wish that we could create more of a human and humane connection where people could actually understand what was happening emotionally, humanistically, and spiritually in the midst of this AIDS crisis. And I remember thinking, Eureka, that's the power of theater, that it allows us to sometimes maybe see ourselves in the other. And I thought, that's what I should be doing. I'm going to try to keep the work as social and political as it is now, but I want to try to get people to understand and make these leaps of faith and humanity in showing them the other, someone who's very different from them, and getting them to understand, wow, there's a little bit of my plight happening in there with that person up there, that other. And so I kind of discovered that, and it changed my work forever in terms of the intention behind it. But then, things kind of changed when George Floyd was murdered. And that was just such an unsettling, disturbing, sad, tragic moment that then led to this exhilarating movement. And what it showed me was that my purpose as an artist and creating those links and allowing viewers to cross boundaries is not quite enough. And I thought, I have to have direct engagement for me with this movement, which means showing up at a protest or two, because it feels like if this movement is going to have an effect, it's creativity that is most missing. I'll give you one quick example and then I'll shut up. When the whole defund the police movement came along, I thought, what? How's that going to work? And then I thought, instead of obsessing on the nuts and bolts, can I picture that? How would that work? And I thought to myself, it's that type of creative reimagining. If we're really going to move to a profoundly different place, that's type of creativity that artists are injecting into the culture and into the ways that we think feels like it's going to be vital.
Thank you, David. David Roussève is a choreographer, writer, director, performer, a magna cum laude graduate of Princeton University, and a Guggenheim Fellow.
We go next to Q. We go next to Q. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blackout.
I felt like that went pretty well.
Yeah, you know, there's just the latency of Zoom.
Yeah, it sounded good. I really liked him.
Yeah, I mean, original sound on, off. I mean, I feel like we were.
But I think you know that when Jason the sound, you needed to my microphone close. I think I don't know. I'm in the backstage.
Yeah,
So pretty good.
I think his sound is. I think his sound was being attenuated. Is the.
What do you mean attenuated?
Wouldn't I mean that's the question, right? I mean, what does attenuated actually mean?
Maybe he was just being very delicate, you know, playing very delicately.
Jason, you like to go to Carnegie Hall? I promise you.
It's overrated.
Blackout. Blackout.
Miriam, Miriam, and Miriam.
Is William Parker. He's a bass player. He's a really, really good storyteller. I remember once I asked him, because he's that age, whether he had been to Vietnam, and he said no, that he elected for a conscientious objector, and they sent him to court to prove this, and he went in and there was people screaming and banging their heads against the walls and howling like wild animals. He just went into the interview room, sat down, and they asked him, "Are you afraid to die?" He said, "No, I'm not afraid to die." He got a letter later saying he didn't have to go to the war.
Miriam Parker is an artist who uses sound, paint, light, movement, video projection, and sculpture to create media and performance-based works. Her work has been greatly influenced by her connection to free jazz tradition and her study of Buddhism, phenomenology, and kinesthetic empathy. She has worked as a performer in collaboration with Yoshiko Chuma and the School of Hard Knocks for the past 10 years. The video is from Yoshiko. Miriam is a dancer and a choreographer, and she's also a video editor. And this next video is edited by Miriam.
Take go.
What you just saw is a video edited by Miriam, and it's from Yoshiko's daily iPhone diary from March 28th, 2020 to May 2020 in New York City. And the next video is by Andrew Kim. Here is his work.
I'm interested in borders and boundaries. I feel that we limit ourselves and it's totally unnecessary. It's arbitrary.
Why are you in this piece?
I'm interested in borders and boundaries.
Why?
I feel that we limit ourselves.
Who is we?
Society. I feel that I limit myself. I'm afraid. Fear. I've never been into that room. So when I entered, I noticed right away the sound of the floorboards underneath my feet as I walked. And I walked, and I walked, and I walked, and I walked. And I began to get bored, so I used my hand, looking through my hand into the space as I walked. And I noticed that I was getting more rapid. My physicality was speeding up, so then I went against my movements. I went against my habits, using the weight of my body into my feet. In Damascus, I used this developing for quite a while, in which I invite my artists that I'm collaborating with to use a flashlight as an extension of their gestures. I then trace their body to the negative space in which they're habiting. I set up the camera to 40 to 60 aperture. In Ramallah, I use the same process, except I changed the use of the cell phone. It was very, very, very clever. Seeming each dancer had several territories. They then use the same process using an extension of their gesture. I then trace their body, the negative space in which they habited. I set up the camera to 40 to 60 aperture. My father's name is William Parker. He is a bass player. Some people call it the contrabass, but I call it the bass player. He is one of the most fantastic storytellers. I mean, he really does know how to welcome you into whole new worlds by stretching out the story, and you're just inside. It's gorgeous. He has a million different colored shoes. I mean, red, green, yellow, fuchsia, purple, stripes, green, you name it, he has a shoe in that color. He also has several hats. I asked him one day if he had a hat from Afghanistan. He said, yes, I do. I said, well, would you like to go to Afghanistan? He said, yes, I would like to go to Afghanistan. I asked him why. He said, I'd like to go to places to see if it is really true what they say about them. He's never been to Vietnam War. He protested and had to go to the court. When he showed up, there was all kinds of people acting crazy, practicing. But he went, he testified, they asked him one question. Are you afraid to die? He said, no, I am not afraid to die.
Some real artistic ideas. I want to be inspired artistically into making or into taking it into the work. I'm not interested in the, oh, we want to live here and create a place just like yours. That's so inspiring. You know, I want to see it. I want to see our relationships.
Miriam, Miriam, Miriam.
Silence here in asphalt twilight, looking tomorrow and yesterday, knowing I'm a child of Mother Nature to pass over time.
Blackout. We're doing okay, don't you think? Thanks. Thank you to everybody. This is Yoshiko Chuma speaking. We ready to go next? Go. Ryan.
Elizabeth Kresch, Brooklyn-born painter, grew up steeped in rich lineages of poetry, art, and jazz, and started painting in the post-punk music and art scene of the New York 80s. Equal parts observer, documentarian, dreamer, and functional protector, she finds the shape, angle, color, and conjures the subjects that populate the heady facial flow of our world over creative pulse. Her childhood exposure came through watching her mother draw for Saks Fifth Avenue on the light of using a mirror when she wanted to move away from modeling. Reading the boxes of books beat poet Denise Levertov would send her, and being privy to the raucous paintings discussion that would erupt during slide nights in their living room with artists Leland Bell, Robert De Niro Sr., Louisa Matias Dotier, and sometimes others. When Count Basie Records shook the house, she knew her father, Hoffman's student Albert Kresch, was busy painting. She swore she would never be an artist. Alas, he continued to voraciously keep her up with friends' shows, take her for studio visits and museums, and invite her to sit in on the classes he taught at Parsons MFA and Fashion Institute of Technology. Summers were spent trading houses with people outside the city where her parents could paint, and she would entertain herself with the grasshoppers, and in New Mexico, a sculptor down the road who showed her how to make bird whistles. She was about 12 when her father brought her to see his students' bands at CBGB's and other venues, and she realized art was also for a younger generation. The path was lit. She soon found her own peers and dedicated pencil to paper and brush to canvas to be continued throughout her work and adventures. Elizabeth studied painting at the New York Studio School, Sarah Lawrence, and Chautauqua Institute, as well as Bennington College, and has contributed to group shows at NoHo M55 Gallery, Wendigo Gallery, Gershwin Hotel, Tactile Bosch in Cardiff, Wales, and Portrait Gallery in London. In February 2019, she had a solo show at Love Henry entitled Entropy and Eternity. And in July, she embarked on a collaboration with visionary Yoshiko Chuma for her School of Hard Knocks endeavor, out of which this show was sprung.
I love your studio. I have been there so many times, and then so many beautiful, painting. Can I see it just behind you, the one with the painting, the small one?
This one was a rare memory. I never paint from memory, but this one, it's been hot in New York, and it reminded me of when I was little and a neighbor was helping me out while my parents were out, and we heard the ice cream man. And she grabbed $1 in my hand and she said, "Let's go." And I was in my light blue polyester nightgown that felt like silk. And we ran out in my bare feet, got vanilla with sprinkles. And I looked for broken glass. And I remember the ice cream melting down my dress.
Blackout. thank you waiting the backstage, but with so much distance. Ryuji is Amman, Kathy is California, Chihiro is Japan, Denise is Ankara, Grace is Hong Kong. What's your name?
Ruji.
Grace.
What's your name?
Inu.
What's your name?
Kathy.
Ryuji, are you doing okay? Your school, it's completely locked down, is it?
Yeah, we've been in lockdown for a few days, but it's
blackout. What's your name?
Heather Latier.
Wow, very gorgeous name. When we live near, you are going to only one block away, and then I already wave to you the windows, but I could not go to your room, and then I'm visiting always in the morning. We have a fantastic breakfast, yes. How is your mother?
My mother, well, she passed away about 4 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry that.
Yeah.
This is my diary, Heather.
This is my diary. I mean, crossing borders is commonplace. It's like a piece of my choreography. We're to take a different bus because Palestinians have different passports. They can't cross borders as easily as tourists can. It takes them 4 hours. And checkpoints are part of everyday life. Ada says that we're not human beings. We can get through pretty easily, but they go through a lot. What's on your ID? What kind of things? How big is it? What kind of information is in it? The name of your father, the name of your religion, and where you were born. Palestinians carry a green ID. If you carry a green ID, you can only go into certain cities. You can't go outside. So one of the most famous checkpoints is called X, and it separates the city from Ramallah, probably one of the worst checkpoints. How often do you cross that checkpoint? Almost every day. What kind of official paperwork is needed? How often do you cross that checkpoint? Almost every day. What kind of official paperwork is needed? How often do you cross that checkpoint? Almost every day. What kind of official paperwork is needed? Well, it's actually 3 borders, because first you have to cross the Turanian border. Wait, no, you have to cross the Kyrgyzstan border. You cross another border. And they let you in so that you can pass through. I mean, it's like there's a division, like 3 divisions. I think it's a very physical culture as a result of the 4 century or more old. It's an incredibly performative culture. I crossed the border from Berlin. Wait, that wasn't a checkpoint. Or how do you call that? I thought it was a border. I would call it a border. I spoke to a grad student who had been working in local outlets there, and I asked him, what is part of the they didn't exist? And I said, well, what do you mean? Well, they never had a name. The people from Tehran, Caracas, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Amsterdam, Berlin, they didn't name them. The Jordanians didn't name them, the Lebanese people didn't name them. It's just for the local people. It's just around them. Around that time, camouflage print became very popular. I think it's not really theater for them. I think it really fits. I remember the blue sky and the delicious food there. What do you think the most delicious food is in your country? What do you like? It's kind of an inside, outside, and then it's reversed. So when you start seeing the wall, at some point, you don't know which side that you're on. Each step is the same, but different. I like traveling. We're all kind of moving together, but I don't like to move so much sometimes. Well, because it makes me sick. It's extremely hard to do the voices when we're not feeling it. So I tear pages from my diary and I throw them into the air, and I grab each page and try to convey the story that's written on the page. Each step is the same, but different. I'm sort of involved already. I'm interested in borders and boundaries. I feel that we limit ourselves. society. I feel that I limit myself. I'm afraid. Fear. Blackout.
Megumi Eda was born in Nagano, Japan. At age 3, she started training in classical ballet with her mom, who was a ballet teacher using a dresser as a bar in a small living room. Her entire childhood and teenage years were totally focused on her dream to become a ballerina. She got a lot of attention and worked very hard, which culminated in a major ballet competition. And she has had a fortunate career as the dancer since then. She has been dancing professionally for over 25 years in Japan, Europe, and America, including the Matsuyama Ballet, the Hamburg Ballet, Het Dutch National Ballet, the Rambert Dance Company, and Armitage Gone Dance. She worked and toured all over her husband, Nathan Buck, a filmmaker. She has developed her passion as a video editor and a director. She has found that her internal artistic processes in creating these kinds of things is similar to her dance sensibility, and she loves exploring these new areas of creativity. She has collaborated with Yoshiko Chuma since 2014 as a performer and filmmaker. She won a Bessie Award in 2004.
Nobody's heart belongs to me. Nobody's heart belongs to me. Nobody's heart belongs to me. Hi-ho, who cares? Nobody writes his songs for me. No one belongs to me. That's the least of my cares. I may be sad at times and disinclined to play, but it's not bad at times to go your own sweet way. Nobody's heart belongs to me. No arms feel strong to me. I admire the moon as a moon, just a moon. Nobody's heart belongs to me today.
Blackout.